Hello, and welcome to Advanced Manufacturing Now, the podcast for manufacturing professionals. Don't forget to like and subscribe to get episodes delivered to your feed each week. I'm your host, Steve Plumb, Editor-in-Chief for SME Media. I'm joined today by Chris Desmond from Hopewell High School in North Carolina and Jason Hyatt from Cazenovia High School in New York. And they're both part of a new initiative for middle schools funded through SME Partnership Response in Manufacturing Education, or PRIME for short, which was created by the SME Education Foundation in 2011 and recently extended to middle schools. Under the program, schools receive equipment, teacher training, curriculum support, scholarships, and funding for manufacturing-related activities. Chris and Jason, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
So before we dive into what's going on at your schools, tell us a little bit about yourselves and how you got into teaching. Jason, if you could kick it off.
Sure thing. My hometown is Cazenovia High School. I actually ended up teaching in my old high school. I didn't go far. I went to Syracuse University, pursued a major in information management and technology at the iSchool there. Afterwards, pursued teaching because I really fell in love with the process after working at a summer camp where I taught people how to do some video work. So technology teacher kind of was the route to go, and went up to SUNY Oswego and got my teaching degree there. So I've been teaching 22 years. Engineering, technology, computer science stuff. We got involved with PRIME early on, I think around 2013, 2014, perhaps. I think we were one of the first schools in New York to be a part of the program, and we've been there ever since. I recently took over kind of as one of the lead teachers there with the program probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And each year I find out new stuff about the program and great things about it. And we dive in a little bit deeper and get more involved. They've been an incredible support for us to keep our program going strong. We're a Project Lead the Way school as well, have been one for a very long time, one of the first, again, in New York to do that. And we're so thankful for the PRIME partnership because it has given us extra opportunities to keep our program afloat and try new things and really take that next step into manufacturing and what it looks like today.
Great. Jason, how big is the school?
We're a pretty small school when it comes to student population. We're averaging maybe 100, 110. Each class that's been coming up is a little bit different. We used to be upwards in the 130s, 140s, but we kind of had a decline recently, and now we're kind of steadying out around 100 to 110 per class right now.
All right. And Chris, I understand you have a connection back to that area.
Yeah, pretty wild. Although I've been teaching in North Carolina since I came down in 2016. I actually student taught at the same high school as Jason and know the individual teachers that are rock stars and also in PLTW that have helped so many great teachers around this country. So between the SME connection and the student teaching connection, pretty wild to small world we'll go with. But I am Chris Desmond. I've been teaching. This is my 14th year. I started in the math realm. I graduated from Lemoyne, a small school in Syracuse, and then did my master's at Syracuse. A lot of connections, Jason, which is hilarious.
Look at that. Yeah, go Orange.
I have been to Oswego as well. So nothing, always good. So from there, I had the opportunity. I taught at Nottingham High School for a while, math, and then shifted over. I moved to Durham, North Carolina, where they had a massive engineering school, but I was still teaching math. So when I had the opportunity to take over a school that potentially could get me into the engineering and manufacturing world, I had noticed SME from my time at Cazenovia, which is just another awesome connection. And they were very close to closing the program. So I jumped at the opportunity to try to expose kids to the wonderful industry of engineering and manufacturing, and don't regret it at all. I love coming to work every day. And like Jason said, a lot of the partnership and industry exposure is not possible without SME. So appreciate everything that being a prime school represents and what it does for Hopewell students.
Oh, great. Well, we're definitely happy to have both of you as part of the program. And just to bring it full circle, my connection with Syracuse is not as happy as a
Yeah.
Michigan State graduate. I'm still smarting from Syracuse knocking us out of the NCAA tournament a few years back, but I won't hold it against you guys. um, so you've both been involved in manufacturing in terms of trying to uh, get students interested and help them develop some skills. Uh, that's been an ongoing concern for a while. How have things changed in recent years, and what's the climate like right now for students coming up and getting into those STEM type fields and possibly manufacturing careers?
So I'll jump in first. I think as different populations come in, a lot has changed, but a lot's the same. One of the most exciting parts of this grant to me is that we're doing a better targeted job at early exposure. And something that I'm sure Jason's definitely going to agree with is, we talk so much in the engineering and manufacturing world about jobs that, these students really haven't been exposed to much. And a lot of my realm is it's about as close to shop as we have. So the hands-on approach is really been wonderful to kind of get kids not necessarily 100% away from screens because CAD to CAM, there's a lot of technology that we're putting in these kids' hands, but bringing their ideas to life has been the most rewarding part of my time throughout this process. And having the kids go through and see the transition from following directions to get to a point versus taking their own ideas and applying it to a constraint to satisfy a problem versus trying to solve somebody's problem to manufacture has just been amazing, and I think really contagious. And it's awesome to see that we're really trying to get students targeted earlier so that we can bring them further before they're ready to, hopefully do like what Jason and I do every day and love, right? And that's kind of the main target, at least I try to apply at Hopewell.
Yeah, Jason, what are some of the challenges you've faced over the years, and how has programs like Prime helped to overcome those?
Yeah, I would say the same with Chris. There's some things that just haven't changed about people and kids. And that is there's something inherently just natural about creating and being a part of making things. And I think that's one of the things we probably love as educators, right? When we see that like light bulb moment, or when a student is working on a project and it really like all comes together, right? They hold it in their hand and they say, I was a part of making this, and that is so cool. So one of the challenges I think though is getting those opportunities when we just focus on some of our traditional ways of education and learning, and thinking that it's all text-based or textual, and head knowledge and stuff. We really got to get it out of our heads into our hands. And so manufacturing gives you such a great opportunity to do that. And then some of us, even me, I don't get out of the classroom all that much, and I've been a part of some great programs so far with SME Prime, and and other local. We have a MACNY, Manufacturers Association of Central New York, and we have a couple other major manufacturers coming into the area. What they're trying to do is get educators out of the classroom, see industry, see how things literally are made, and be able to communicate and hear from those professionals. Hey, this is the type of education our kids need to get so that we can give them jobs, and we have a great need for this new workforce, and we need those educated students. They know how to problem solve. They know how to, do some of these basic things, but yet they need experience on it. And so as educators in programs like SME Prime, we get to provide them with those opportunities. So the challenges are sometimes not knowing how those things work. And so anytime that we can cast a vision or let them actually see it and feel it and make it, that really makes all the difference.
Yeah, that hands-on aspect is so important, and exposing the kids to that and the technology and just interacting with experts and other kids and yourselves as the teachers. So the program itself, I think the funding was up to $20,000. Tell us about how you're putting that to use. Jason, we can start with you.
Yeah, we decided to really capitalize on our small school district feel aspect. As a high school teacher, I'm actually a shared staff between the middle school, but our buildings are connected. Our 7th graders come up to the high school to take our classes. Our 8th graders are already in the high school, so they get a chance to use our STEM lab, or our shop, if you will. But some of the machines, their tools, they're pretty advanced, and so we're kind of finding those in between manufacturing, tools, machines, etc., are really helpful. So we decided to ask for money to go toward a water jet cutter, and the one we chose was kind of a desktop version one. It's called a Wazer, and so we decided to purchase that with some of the money, asked for that money to purchase that, and then have some of our high school students be kind of like prime ambassadors, right? They help students make a few things, or run the machine, help them onboard onto that. And we're specifically kind of asking, and I'm reaching out to more girls to get more females involved in our STEM program. And sometimes, we know research tells us when you see someone that is like you in that job or in that role, you can envision yourself in that. So that's one piece of what we're using the money for. I'm also starting up some family maker nights in the fall to invite our families into the STEM lab to see all that we have, to work with their kids and provide opportunities for families. We know a family connection at home and education is so important. And we also know there's some great experts in our town, and people that can share some great ideas and perhaps make some connections with our local industry and pipelines into those manufacturing fields and jobs. So I hope to learn from them when we all get together. So that's kind of what our proposal was about.
So I got to imagine that this was the first time that most, if not all, the students were exposed to a water jet cutter. What was the reaction? It was pretty cool technology.
It is. I think watching something cut through metal, is pretty wild. We've done some sample pieces. I had my high school students create some some artistic pieces in my computer integrated manufacturing course as kind of like a test. We're really going to kick off most of the program in the fall, but to see they design it in 3D, right? So we actually do a lot of 3D modeling in 7th grade and really start them young. And we do have a bank of 3D printers. SME Prime has been great to help us to really improve our suite of tools. And so kids can make additive manufacturing type of products and see it, hold it, right? And so that same type of tech, we move it over and talk about how to CNC things, and that it's a really cool technology. They're pretty surprised that we can do that.
Chris, what's going on at Hopewell?
Yeah, so honestly, it's one of the better parts of Prime is every time I talk to another teacher, I'm always learning something. But there's definitely a lot of parallels between both of the kind of proposals we have going on. But excited to see what Jason and Cazenovia do as well. But so Hopewell, we came together, and I would say, I guess on paper, we are designing and implementing a massive one day think trade show but targeted for middle school students. So we are pretty big on authentic experiences, right? Kids can earn a grade, but when they actually experience an industry with a professional, just like Jason pointed out, like that can really change the trajectory of a student's life. Our approach was to try to gather as many industry from our Charlotte network as well. And SME has been great about connections to different industries down here and try to expose the students to as many of those areas as possible. And the concept is we're kind of surveying industry to figure out what it is, what kind of hands-on tasks, what skills do we want incoming employees to know from industry, and then we're tasking our high school, again, STEM ambassadors at the high school level to organize a hands-on experience that during our trade show day, our middle schoolers will experience. And the idea is to make it an annual event where seventh graders do something different than eighth graders. I wish that our building was attached, Jason. I'm pretty jealous. However,
Yeah.
the idea is to get students, to meet them where their curiosity lives and expose them to as many industries as possible. Manufacturing means a lot of different things to a lot of different families. So the idea is to really knock out two birds with one stone. The high school kid is gaining the professional communication experience. They're advancing what they're doing. The industry is seeing where kids are at. And then the middle school kids getting quite a bit of exposure. So our event will be in October, and we still have we have a pretty solid foundation so far, but a lot of work to be done, and excited to do it.
So, how many companies are you hoping to participate in, and they're coming directly into the schools? Or will they bring equipment with them, or what's the setup?
So it drastically will depend on what industry is willing to do. I'm as long as safety's in mind, I think I'm open to everything. However, location is also a pretty big hurdle. Electricity is a pretty big hurdle. Jason, you brought up the water jet, and 220 and a lot of space is mandatory, and that's not always as easy in a trade show temporary event. So we definitely have some companies that are already doing professional trade shows that have agreed to bring resources available. But some of the logistics has been interesting to work through. Some are easier than others, especially the ones that come with power and can be self-sufficient. But still working through some of those logistics. However, on the flip side, Reynolds Manufacturing is right near us, and they're manufacturing within the food industry in general is not typically something that students are going into immediately. So that's just one portion of exposure. We have several drone companies. Duke Energy's been awesome, and we're working with them to try to expose kids towards that pathway, so that way they can leave with a Part 107, manufacture that way, delivery. So Fanuc, we're working towards a lot of different areas, so it's hard to target just a few. Alro Steel, SME has been awesome with Alro Steel. They have been awesome about really trying to expose the kids into a lot more of the subtractive opportunities. So I'd say it's a mix of both, and as long as it's safe, it's going to be amazing. And we will welcome whatever industry would like to partner around Charlotte.
Definitely safety first. Being with your location in Charlotte, do you have a NASCAR connection?
So we have several, and I think we've several partners. The hurdle is the timing. That hasn't worked out for October, although I think we'll definitely have representatives. It's more of whether or not all of them will be able to be there. They're definitely going to be there in the spring, but that's been our because of timing.
Sure.
I haven't had a full commitment, if that makes sense.
Sure. Well, you picked a good month. October is manufacturing month
Manufacturing month, right?
and
There you
manufacturing
go.
week. Um, Jason, you had mentioned, the importance of getting family involved. I was wondering if either of you, in your experience, uh, over the last 5-10 years, if you've seen and have been part of Prime, if you've seen siblings come up after a brother or sister had gone through the program.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of educators, if they're in the same place for a while, you see entire families come through. I actually have 4 kids myself, and my oldest is 17, and he's a junior, going to enter a senior year next year. I had him in class all this year. I have an 8th grader this year. He's been in the STEM lab all year. I got to teach him. So the yeah, passing that down kind of sibling to sibling, and that's such a neat connection, especially when um, parents are involved, because I think too that parent connection, I didn't really mention it, but when a parent doesn't know what manufacturing is either, when a student shows interest and they can't conceptualize it themselves, it's hard to support your student in something. It's not like we have fine arts nights, or we have a concert and they get to see them up on the stage, or they're at a sports event and they're out playing sports. What do we have for manufacturing? So finding that, like, hey, look what your kid has done and look what they do on a regular basis. So getting those parents in and recognizing, like, wow, this is a really impressive thing that you're doing. It's a high level thing. This leads to careers and passions. That was also intentional in this family maker night idea. And I love, Chris, this kind of idea, that trade show thing. We've got a great deal in Syracuse. Micron has been pouring money into our area, because they have planned a brand new manufacturing plant coming up. And we had a partnership. Syracuse University did a Micron Day where they brought in a bunch of people, not just Micron, but a bunch of other local manufacturers. We got to bring middle school students and high school students to see it, and they went around to these different booths. So exactly what you're describing, Chris, is what we got it to experience, and it is really, really helpful, really great. So I'm excited for you guys and what that's going to do for your program.
So what are you finding that kids are most interested in these days? What's attracting them to the programs?
I, I'll jump in. I think in my mind, that question could be answered a million different ways, but the consistency that I believe is absolutely the hands-on approach. Like the students that see um, that go through our program, are there tests? Yes, but they learn a lot more when they are asked to take something and apply, that design process where it's much more iterative and they have full control over what they're going to do within that process. And going back and getting a little bit more experience with grit. And that piece is not something that a lot of the students going through high schools, in my opinion, are receiving. And rather than preparing them for a test that they'll take at the end of the day, life is going to keep giving you the test till you learn the lesson. And that's the nice part about the engineering and manufacturing world. Like, you can say one of the awesome parts that Prime's really opened up for us is I try to treat it much more like an enterprise. And so, teacher appreciation, we did 175 custom magnets for every teacher in our building.
Oh, that's a great idea, Chris. Oh,
It's
I'm
and
stealing that.
it's Jason. See, I've told you. But I think in addition to that, helping the program, it's pretty easy for students to think of ideas, but getting it to a point where they can make one is amazing. But getting it to a point where you make 175 of something with quality control, with inspection, there's no grade that can quantify what a group of kids comes together to grind through and get to that, and then they're so proud to distribute that. I think that contagious aspect really brings people back for more, and these are the authentic experiences that Prime has opened up for us. I don't think there is any other way that you can get an exposure to that unless you go through it. That's not something you read in a textbook or watch on YouTube or get AI to do. You can't. I mean, it can give you feedback and it can move you forward in the process, but until you have sat back and, banged your head against the wall 15 times. Jason, you brought up 3D printers. I mean, when we started, we had basically enders that wouldn't print what we wanted. Because of Prime, we have 14 printers that these kids are going way past anything that I ever dreamed that when I started. And so I think having that authentic experience, going through this process as many times as they'll allow me to push them through, and then trying to figure out what it is that they could do within the many opportunities around. We don't have a Micron, but there is Huntersville has so much manufacturing right in our backyard, and a lot of these kids are now seeing that they can not only make a very good living but also enjoy doing it, and that's really been amazing. So.
With the advent of advanced technologies like 3D printers, water jet cutters, automation, AI, Industry 4.0, how important is it that to get kids into programs like Prime and really expose them to the possibilities?
How I try to target that question is really machines are only as good as the people that can operate them. And although I am unbelievably grateful to everything that SME has provided, I think students realize pretty quickly, in comparison to, say, like a calculator. The calculator is only as good as the resources and an understanding that you have of it. So the advancements towards when our middle school kids walk in and see all of our our CNC machines going and our robotic arm moving transfer system, that engagement couldn't be better. However, the process of really going through and learning subtractive and additive, that's the part where it's really only good as the training and the experience that kids are getting with those with the machines provided. So I think they're both, it's a give and a take, if you will. And although it definitely is a contributing factor, it's just not the only contributing factor, in my opinion. I think it's impossible to get where we've been. For example, like we talked about, NASCAR, we do a CO2 car race. So if you don't know what a CO2 car race, you might know what a Pinewood Derby is. Essentially, you either mill or you 3D print the body of a car, and that's how a lot of our students learn CAD, CAM if you're going the subtractive route. However, a lot of the students that have been exposed to this, it's not necessarily about the quality of the machine. It's much more that this task allows them to apply their ideas, put them on paper. And I think once they get to that, the machines will allow them to move forward to solve a problem, but not necessarily what is in their head. Because design for what's in their head and design for a machine are two different things. And Prime has allowed them to expose that.
Jason, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think there's a part of education when you and perhaps in our elective fields, because a lot of our courses are not required courses yet. Some of our things in New York State are changing in education, which is fantastic. That we're requiring more courses that are like our manufacturing course, problem solving courses, things like that. But one of the challenges that we have in attracting kids to programs into these fields is you have so much to compete with. We have any visual technology and things that kids have today. And so when you do have some of these pretty cool things, 3D printers, laser cutters, water jet cutters, CNC mills, robotic arms, like that draws kids in, I think. But then, as Chris was saying, the point being made, they're just tools. And so there's a lot of learning that needs to take place to get kids onto those machines. And so that iterative process, needing to, try something and rework it and do it again. That's really what we're teaching and what we're trying to get kids to buy into, is that you're not going to nail it the first time. But when you get a process down and it works, that product in the end, it's going to be good. And so when you can use a tool or a machine like the ones that we have, and these advanced ones that allow kids to output things pretty quickly, and you can go through a few prototypes at a low cost or a quick turnaround, it's so powerful in the education environment because we have these kids for a limited amount of time. And so there's only so much you can do in the time you have them in the classroom. So the faster we can go with those things, the better in that sense. Speed isn't always important, but when it comes to attention spans and things, you got to consider that in high school, middle school classrooms. We're also competing with kids that, it is kind of hard to keep their attention for a long time. And so that has been a challenge in our environment, and there's a lot of distractors in this world. And so teaching that grit, I think Chris used that phrase, teaching kids that stick-to-itiveness, that you can't give up, that don't be satisfied with it's good enough, is so important. So when we can provide a place or a space for them to improve an idea and work on it and make it better, and test it, and you find those failures and you find ways to improve, that's really the other piece of the puzzle, and super important. And those tools, those machines, they help us get there, perhaps a little easier, faster.
Yeah, the other thing that you just inspired me to say, the part that I cannot appreciate enough about having these industry quality machines is if we ever do take field trips to manufacturers or engineering individual companies, allowing kids to see what they did in our classes and for them to talk to professionals using either the exact same machine, the same brand of machine, the same CAD program. That is something that I cannot tell anyone how much value that does for a kid's trajectory. They just see it as so much more than a course, and this could be a legitimate, passion career for them.
Yeah, it must be gratifying for both of you to see the students go through the program and progress. Have either of you been able to follow students post-graduation and through college and possibly into careers and see what the outcomes have come?
So we actually, one of the last courses we have is called Capstone. So we do a capstone showcase. And what Hopewell has done is we have made an alumni award. So essentially, think of a room full of different projects where parents can come, students can come, as well as alumni. So there's an entire category of individuals that have gone through our program that kind of come back to provide feedback as they have gone through a similar path. And I'd say I'd have to really pull data, but the coolest part is after we do a panel and the kids are able to ask the questions to our mostly recent graduates. Once they've been out for a little bit, it gets tougher for them to want to come back to high school, but it depends on the kid for sure. But we had about 9 3 weeks ago, and the amount of appreciation that those alumni have towards the hands-on experience that we're offering, whether they're doing engineering or manufacturing or not, is just incredible. I think a greater majority definitely are, but I love going to work every day, and that's what I want all my students to do for themselves. And if we can kind of marry both of those together, that's what it's all about. I'd say we're pretty split, though. Definitely, The apprenticeship kind of steals both engineering and manufacturing, but I'd say we're pretty split within our completers for sure.
Yeah, we've had some great alumni in our network come back and share through various programs. One of our SME Prime kind of sponsored events we did one year was Girls in STEM, and so we had some guest speakers come in the area, and we have some relationships, of course, with local engineers or manufacturer professionals, and they came in and spoke, and again, when kids see people they know or people from their place, and they know that they went on to do that, it gives them a vision, gives them excitement, and makes a great connection. My old technology teacher, he retired a few years back. He was the one who really got Project Lead the Way going at Cazenovia and also SME Prime. And Chris used to collect from students mugs when they went off to college. And when Chris retired, he probably had over 100 mugs that he had on display. And it wasn't just single mugs from colleges. These were the different colleges that these students went to for manufacturing and engineering. And so that has been a neat thing, and making those connections. He did a great job at that. And that's helped our program going forward for sure.
Yeah, that's a great way to remember the students who have gone through the program. Definitely a reminder every time he looks at it, I'm sure. Well, Chris and Jason, thank you both very much for joining us, and thank you very much for all that you do in the school system and helping students. Look forward to hopefully meeting both of you in person sometime down the road. Chris, I know you mentioned that you go to South Tech occasionally, so hopefully our paths will cross.
Bright minds, I'm ready to be there. Let me know.
That's right.
Well, perhaps someday Michigan State and Syracuse might meet in the Final Four, and maybe we'll connect there, Chris.
There you go. That will be a dream matchup.
Yeah, I'd say if there's any way to just say thanks to SME for their sponsorship of the SME Prime program. Cannot say enough how important it has been for us. And had someone reach out to us recently from another district that saw that we were a participant, and I got to just gush about the program. And so really want to get that word out as much as we can. More people in the network. I think you're always stronger together, and you can share ideas. Just having this conversation, I'm already picking some things up from Chris, and really appreciate SME Prime and everything they've done for us.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, same exact feeling there. Always learn something on these types of interactions for sure, and can't thank SME for all you guys do for us. So.
Well, thank you again. And for the latest manufacturing news, please visit Advanced Manufacturing Now for new podcasts every week and industry news.